Hey y'all, I'm Mayer Cunningham, the special education boss. If you've ever felt confused, overwhelmed, or just plain frustrated at the 504 IEP table, you are in the right place. Every week, I'm breaking down the rules, the rights, and the realities of special education so you can walk into meetings informed, empowered, and ready to make real change. And whether you're a parent, a teacher, an advocate, a school-based member, or somebody who's just trying to do right by a student, this podcast gives you straight talk, real answers, and tools that you can use immediately. I'm not here to play politics. I'm not here to play sides. I'm here to train people who sit at the table and teach you how to follow the law, ask the right questions, and protect the rights of students. So go ahead and hit subscribe, share this with a friend, and you know what? Meet me back here every single week. We're not just talking about change. We're making it. Because when you know better, you do better. And when we get it right for the child, we get it right for everybody. Hey, you guys, welcome back. If we haven't met, I'm Mayer Cunningham, special education boss, training everyone that sits at the 504 IEP table to navigate and negotiate successful student outcomes. And we're super excited today on the show. We have John Vergara, who is everywhere on social media, the difficult student. So, John, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. Here we go.
Here we go. So I love your content. It is in leadership and education. And I think I found you, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. And so tell us about what you do today for serving kiddos.
So today, my role is a assistant principal over special education. And so I oversee the special education department over 2 schools. I oversee the IEPs. I assist my special education teachers. I assist my paraprofessionals and whatever other duties as assigned that they want to throw at me. I do that as well. So I do, behavioral management. I do classroom observations. I do just about everything. Just about everything that a generic AP would do, plus special education duties. That's me. And my goal is to just be a strong leader on the campus, be a positive influence on the campus, and just try to make a positive difference in wherever I go. Prior to that, my journey's long. I have a long journey in education.
Tell us about your long journey.
Let me tell you about my long journey. I used to work at Mervyn's department store when I was 18 years old.
Mervyn's. Oh my gosh. Am I 100 years old? I missed Mervyn's. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I worked at Mervyn's department store, and my youth pastor, her name is Pastor Jackie at the time. She said, I know you said you want to work with kids. I get you to work at this Lutheran school as a playground supervisor. I said, perfect, because Mervyn's is not for me. I worked at the children's department. I was folding clothes. I was like, Mervyn's is not for me. And so I was like, yeah, I want to work with kids. Now, I had no clue of what I wanted to do. At this time, I'm 18 years old. I just graduated high school. I barely graduated from high school. I was a student with difficult behavior. I had no clue. I had no clue what I wanted to do. So I get a job at a Lutheran school, and they have me as a playground supervisor, and I just fall in love with it. I'm like, oh, this is it. I want to work with kids. I don't know at what capacity I want to work with kids, but this is it right here. This is what I want to do. And I found in love with working with students just like me, with difficult behavior, that question everything, that wondered why do I have to do that? What is this about? Who didn't trust easily. These kids that didn't trust, I was like, I don't trust either. I don't trust anybody, like all these things. I was like, man, I could help you guys. This is it. And I started working there. I did like playground supervision. I did the after school program. And then one day the PE teacher just quits. And I walk into my principal's office at the time, and I was like, hey, and I'm like, I don't know, 18, 19 years old. I'm like, hey, I could be a PE teacher. I could do it.
Yeah.
He's like, no.
Done.
Yeah, he's like, no. But it was like the middle of the year. There was nobody else to do it. And I was like, I could do it. Let me go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
He's like, all right, I'll give you a shot. And so I became the PE teacher with no credential, nothing. He just let me do it. So I'm the PE teacher. I'm running the PE program. I just fall in love with it. I'm like, this is it. This is what I want to do. And so, I'm going to school at the time, barely, I'm at Los Angeles City College. And now at this time, I'm married. I have kids. I'm 19 years old. I have 2 kids, married. And it's a lot. It's a whole lot to manage all of this stuff. And so I get my A. What I get? I get it. I got an English. I got my A in English, and I was like, you know what? I have a degree. I need to get paid more. I need to go somewhere else now. That's what
Show
I
me
said.
the money.
I didn't make money. I need to make money. And so, I went to, I was like, let me work at a group home. I want to work with kids in a group home. And so I got a job in working with kids in a group home, and that was an eye opener. That was tough. You got these kids who been taken out of their home because of the abuse and neglect, and they're hurting. They're hurting a lot. And I'm in there. I have the AM shift. I'm like 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. I wake them up, take them to breakfast, take them to school, and I'm like, this is a whole different level. This is a whole different. I worked at a Lutheran school. I thought the kids were, the behavior over there was like nothing compared to the behavior right here. I'm getting spit
Yeah.
at and kicked, and they want to fight me, and it's like a whole thing. And they're hurting. It's just hurt people hurt people. That's what it is. Hurt people hurt, and they're hurting. So I do that for a year. I learned a whole lot. Learned a whole lot. Toward the end, I'm like, okay, I could manage this kind of behavior, but at the same time, I'm growing cold. I feel like I'm my heart is getting harder because the kids are just rough. And so I'm like, this is not what I want to do. And so I now it's funny. I get my bachelor's degree and I'm like, I gotta make more money now. Now I gotta make more money. I got my bachelor's degree. So I get a job as a one-on-one for students with autism. And I start working with students with autism. I have this one student I work with and I'm in a middle school. And this is how I became a teacher. I'm in a middle school and I'm following this student every classroom, following a student. And I'm looking at the teachers and I'm like, man, you guys aren't doing anything. What are you guys doing? Like you guys aren't teaching anybody. You're not inspiring anybody. This is ridiculous. Everybody just is tuned out in these classrooms. And everybody in the classroom looked like me. Brown, Latino, and they're being disserviced in my mind. I'm like, oh my God, they're not teaching these kids anything. What was I could do so much better. I could do so much better. So I was like, all right, let me go. So I get this is gonna show my age again. I get the newspaper, the classified ads in the back. I'm looking at the classified ads in the back, and I'm looking
Yeah.
for teaching positions, and I see a job, and it's like it's at a Catholic school. It was an elementary school position for a first grade teacher. I'm like, that's it. I'm gonna do it. So I apply and I get an interview, and I'm like, at this time, I think I'm like 22 years old. 22 years old, and I'm sitting there in this interview, and I have no idea what I'm doing. I've never taught before in my life, and I'm just like there. I've done, playground supervision. I've done group home stuff. I've worked on, but I've never led a classroom. I don't know anything about the curriculum, nothing. How to work with parents, nothing. So I'm sitting in this interview, and I feel like I'm kind of doing okay, but not really. I'm like, this is not it. I don't think I'm gonna get the job. And then the assistant principal asked me, he says, how's your relationship with God? That's the question he asked me. How's your relationship with God? And I'm like, and now at that time I had a really good relationship with God, I'm gonna say. And I was like, oh, my relationship with God is good. My relationship with God is good. And I just went off and talked about my relationship with God. And then I left, and after that, I was like, oh, I think I might have got that job after that question. And sure enough, I get home and I get a phone call at a house phone at the house,
A landline.
the
Yeah.
landline. And they're like, hey, we want to offer you the job. And I'm like, shh, perfect. And that's how I became a classroom teacher. I got offered the job, taught first grade. I did that for 6 years. I didn't have a credential. Didn't have a credential. They hired me without a credential, So I'm always underqualified. Like I'm like, man, I'm not qualified for these positions, but they keep giving them to me, so I'll
Yeah.
take them. So I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and work here. And the cool thing about working at the Catholic school that I worked at was that there was these programs where free programs where they offered you master's degrees and credential programs if you stayed for a certain amount of years.
Yeah.
I took advantage of that. I got two master's degrees and my credentials, and I had to stay for like 4 extra years there. And I was like, okay, let's do it. So I taught there for 6 years. I reached the peak, the top of their salary scale. I'm like, okay, I got to make more money. I have a family. I have three kids at the time. I have
Yeah.
three kids. I gotta make more money. I gotta do it. Times are tough. So I tell my principal at that time, I'm like, look it, I have to go. I love it here. I love this place. It's a great place, but I'm not making enough money. And the person was like, yeah, okay, I understand. I was like, you know, at the end of this summer, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna apply to a local district near me. He's like, that's fine. So I tell him I'm leaving, but I don't have a position with the district yet. I have no position. I just say I'm leaving. I apply to so many different districts, and I get like two interviews with different districts. I one is local here. And I remember going to that one interview and I was like, I have to get this. I have to get this job. I already said I don't have a job here. I have to get this job. And sure enough, I go there and I get the position and I start teaching, and I've been in this position teaching for, I taught for about 18 years as a classroom teacher. Taught for about 18 years as a classroom teacher with the local district that I still work in now. Um, and sometime year 10 or 11, I wanted to, make more money. It came down to making more money for me again. It was like I have a family. I love teaching. I love making a difference.
Yeah.
But I have a family, so I got my admin credential, and it was like, okay, let me become an admin. But when I got my admin credential, I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to do it. And I sat on my admin credential for about 5 or 6 years. And
Wow.
finally, I was like, okay, let me try. Let me try to, become an admin. And I first became a dean of students, was out my first out of the classroom position. Loved it, worked with students with difficult behavior. This is where I was like honing my craft. I felt like I was an expert when it came to working with students with difficult behavior. Here I am. I'm myself a difficult student. I myself have this background. My parents didn't graduate from high school. Um, the expectation that my parents had was just graduate from high school. That's your peak right there.
Yeah.
You know, I was my there was mental illness in my family. There was drug abuse in my family. There was family members who died of liver cirrhosis and
Yeah.
drug abuse and all of these things. So I have all this trauma. And I'm a dean of students now. And I strictly work with difficult behavior. And I'm like, oh, I could see it. I could see this is what you need. I could see you're me. This is me.
Right.
Um, and I was able to make a really, in my mind, a pretty good impact right there. This is good. I'm making a difference. And so, 3 years pass, and a assistant principal at that school says, "Hey, Mr. Vergara, they're hiring assistant principals at the local district that we're working in. You should do it." I was like, I don't know, He's like, "They're for assistant principal or special education. You should do it." I'm like, "I'll try." So I applied to a couple positions, and again, here I am, underqualified, never worked with special education. I feel like I'm always underqualified, and they hire me. They're like, "Okay, you're hired. You're assistant principal over special education. Here you are. Let's go." And I have no special education background, and it's all learning for me. It's like, and
Yeah.
thank God I have a good psychologist and a good RSP teacher, and I had a good team around me to be like, hey, look, here are the ropes. Here's what you have to do. And I learned a lot. The first 2 or 3 years, I was like, okay, I got it now, and that's how I became my position that I'm at right now. But it's been a long, journey, and it's been like, okay, this is where the path is leading you. Here is a door that's open. Never mind that you're not qualified for any of these things that you're doing.
Yeah.
Just step through the door. Step through the door and see what happens. Just see what happens. Leave it in God's hands and see what happens. And if you're meant to be there, you're meant to be there. It's gonna all work out. And that's kind of how it worked out for me to be where I'm at right now. So yeah, that's a long journey.
Yes.
A long
I
journey. I
thought
don't
you
know
were
how
like
long that was.
24 years old. I guess you're like 100. My gosh. Whatever skincare you're using, we would like to know and buy some.
I
So
appreciate that.
I think it's interesting, the phrase that you use, difficult behavior, right? And so behavior is communication, right?
hmm
And who is it difficult for?
When I say students with difficult behavior, I don't like to say um, difficult students
Yeah.
because that ties to the student. I want to just,
Yeah.
like the behavior. I'm not talking about the student is good.
Yes.
The student is good, and it's the behavior that we got to work on. It's the behavior that we got to fix. So when I say a student with difficult behavior, so I
Yeah.
separate it. And so the difficult behavior, I think it affects everybody. It affects
Right.
the teacher, it affects the student, it affects other students in the classroom. So it's the behavior that we have to fix.
Right.
And in my mind, the way that we fix that behavior is is by building positive, supportive relationships with students. That's what we do. We
Yeah.
build that relationship because when you build that relationship, now the student's able to listen to what you have to say, some suggestions that you have to give them, because they know that you love them and you care for them and you want the best for them. But if the student doesn't feel like you care about them, if the student doesn't think that you have their best interest in mind, if the student thinks that this guy don't care about me, I'm not gonna listen. It's the same with us as adults.
Yeah.
If somebody gives me unsolicited advice that I don't even,
You
I don't
mean
know who you are.
online? Somebody
Yeah.
would give you unsolicited advice about how amazing you are? That's never happened to me.
Unsolicited advice about like, hey, this is what you should do, or I'm like, who are you? Who
Yeah.
even are you? I'm not gonna even listen to what you have to say. Like,
Right.
or if a student like if I remember when I was a teacher, and some administrators would say some things to me or give me some sort of feedback, and I'm like, man, you haven't been in my classroom all year long. All
Right.
year long. You haven't had one conversation with me. You haven't had one conversation with me all year long. And then you have to fill a quota of meeting so many informal observations. And I'm probably one classroom that you never went into. And so they're asking you to do it now. And now you're going to give me some sort of advice about this and you're not even in here daily. Come on now.
Yeah,
Come
we're good.
on.
Yeah.
I'm like, how am I going to listen to you? How am I going to listen to what you have to say? It's the same with the students. They're like, man, you never have anything to say to me. You put me in the corner. You separate me from everybody else.
Yeah.
You ignore me. Um, and then you want to say something to forget that. I'm not going to listen to what you have to say. I'm not. I'm just going to do it.
Right.
And so it's just like building that relationship. And the way that I say to build this relationship is it's not about like secret handshakes. It's not about high fives. It's not about really getting to know the student yet. Not yet. It's not about giving them prizes or tokens or treats to control behavior. None
The
of that stuff.
treasure box.
The treasure box, none of that. None of that stuff. That's not how you build relationships with students. It's in my mind, it's like, okay, the first thing you do is you keep students safe. You keep students
Yeah.
safe. Number one, keep them safe. And how do you keep them safe? You make sure that their physical bodies are safe in the classroom. You make sure that their opinions and their voice is safe in the classroom. To where, because if a student feels like, oh, my physical body is not safe in this classroom, I have to watch my back. You're not going to take care of it, so I'm going to have to take care of it now. If
Right.
somebody comes and attacks me, I have to watch my back because you're not going to do anything about it. Or every time I give my opinion, somebody's going to make fun of it or laugh at it, or I'm never going to talk in this classroom again. I'm never going to talk
Right.
again because it's unsafe for me to talk in this classroom.
Yeah.
So the first thing is, keep everybody safe, physical bodies, opinions, and you do that with, you set your structure in the classroom. Here are the procedures. This is what you do in this classroom. When you enter the classroom, this is what you do. Here's the warm up. This is the first thing you do. When you have to ask for something in the classroom, this is what you do. There's only one person talking. When there's movement in the classroom, this is how you ask to move in the classroom. And you set these procedures, these rules, like this is what it is in this classroom, and you hold tight. You hold the line.
Yeah.
And that keeps the everybody safe. And that sends a message in my mind of love because you always keep the things that you love safe. You always keep the things that you love safe, right? Your family, your
Yeah.
car, whatever it is, you're keeping it safe.
Right.
And then that's the next level is like you demonstrate love in the classroom. I say this, you demonstrate love like the biblical type of love. Like love is patient. You're patient with your students. Love is kind. Love is forgiving. You know, love doesn't hold grudges. You do all these things.
Yeah.
If you just do that, you've won. You've pretty much won. And the last thing I talk about is you have to boost up their self-esteem. You celebrate their wins. Make
Yes.
sure that you celebrate the wins. You celebrate the progress, right? They scored whatever 65 on a test, and prior to that, it was a 60. That's a 5%. You win. You
Yeah.
win, and you just keep celebrating their progress, and you build these relationships. And it's not built upon if you get X amount of points, the whole class gets a pizza party, or we have the treasure box, or it's Fun Friday. any of
On
that
Friday.
stuff. Yeah, none of that stuff. It's none of that stuff. It's like this is what it is. And just like a family, you have moments and experiences with your class.
Yeah.
Like for instance, I worked with a class one time and I was talking about Gushers, the fruit candy Gushers, a long time ago when they first came out. And I was like, yeah, Gushers are pretty good. And they're like, what are Gushers? I was like, wait, you haven't had Gushers before? They're like, no. I was like, tomorrow we're all having Gushers. Tomorrow I'm buying boxes of Gushers and we're all going to eat Gushers. And then we're all going to talk about whether we like it or not. We're going to have this experience. And you have we would have, like we have breakfast in the classroom served to us. And sometimes we had extra apples. And at the end of the day, we're like, hey, we're going to have an apple eating contest. Who eats the fastest apple? And like just silly things, but there's these
Yeah.
moments, these things that they don't forget, right? And so when they look back at like, oh, when I was in third grade with Mr. Vergara, we did this thing, and during Halloween we did that, and that's what they remember. They're not
Yeah.
going to remember how to divide fractions or how, they're
The
not going to.
sum of an obtuse triangle. Because
Yeah,
somebody's asked me that recently.
yeah, they're not
Yeah.
going to remember that. And so that's the whole goal is let's build these relationships with these
Yeah.
students so we can make a difference.
Yeah. One of my favorite books, and it's a requirement for anybody that I train, is Many Communicate, Few Connect by John
Mhm.
Maxwell. And connection is the it's a currency, right? If I don't
Hmm.
connect with you, you don't get in. And so when you're talking about your students, this is something that's come across my feed. I'm sure you've seen it about this article out of Vanderbilt by a very fancy special ed academic that inclusion was a mistake. Have you seen
Hmm.
these threads coming out?
I've seen it. I've seen it.
Oh,
Yeah.
and then we have
Yeah.
people in the comments saying, and those kids should have never been with the regular kids. So talk to me about those kids and regular kids.
So when we talk about special education, so I work at a school where we have um we have three SLD core classrooms and two OT core classrooms. So
Yeah.
core curriculum. And one thing that we started doing was we're doing academies where based on the students' academic success or progress, where they're at academically, they're grouped together.
Yeah.
So we got one group of students that just needs phonic help, and one group of students that needs comprehension, and one group of students that, whatever needs writing assistance or something like that. And we mixed up everybody. Everybody's included. So you got everybody, students with disabilities as well as gen ed students mixed together in, one little area, one classroom where they're getting assistance based on what they need the most. And there was like this idea of like, well, what if some of these students with autism, they're so used to their routine, what if they don't want to move? What if they stay in their classroom because they don't want to move and they don't like the change and they don't want to do that? And so that was a question that we had. We're like, let's just do it. Let's just do it and see what happens.
Yeah.
And so we started doing it, and I'm just observing everything, and it was amazing to see how everybody was mixed together, and you couldn't tell, which students had a disability and which students didn't.
Yeah.
You couldn't tell, and they're all working together, and they were happy, and they had a new environment, and I was like, man, this is good. This is, they need to mix with everybody else. This is perfect versus let's keep them separated. Let's keep them alone. Let's keep them in a room where they never get to interact with anybody else but these people. Like you're never exposed to anything else.
Yeah.
And exposure is everything. Like if you're not exposed to different ideas, different perspectives, if you never traveled, if you never met interesting people, and you just stayed in your own bubble for the rest of your life,
Rest of your life.
how could you ever imagine like something different? How could you ever see yourself in a different environment, different space, different, and so I believe, at least in my experience in this school when we did that, it was pretty amazing. It was pretty
Yeah.
amazing. Prior to that, I worked at a school with art curriculum. I'm sorry, art alternative curriculum.
Yeah.
one of the things that we were working on, and again, these students were isolated, and it was like, okay, how do we get them to have lunch with everybody?
Right.
How do we get them to have recess with everybody? And you know, me and so we did that at that school as well. It's like let's find opportunities where they are able to, you know, mix with everybody else. And I think it's good. You need
Yeah.
support. You need support. You definitely need support. You need structure. You can't just say, "Hey, just do it." You need support. You need
Yeah.
people. But with that right structure, the right support, I think it's possible.
Yeah. And it broke my heart because we've come so far. And sometimes when I sit in IEP meetings, I think it's 1950. And
Yeah.
um, I can tell you why a lot of that inclusion didn't work because we didn't support our teachers, because we didn't
Mm-hmm.
support the paras, we didn't support
Mm-hmm.
the special educators. It's not the student that didn't work. It's not the special needs. It's not that inclusion didn't work. You didn't put a framework for it to be successful,
That's
right?
correct. That's
And
correct.
so if you have a child that can't, if I have a baby and I have two kids that walk, I'm not going, why aren't you walking? They don't walk yet, right? And it just
Mm-hmm.
made me so sad that mentality, that antiquated mentality that these are different kids. They're all kids. They're all general ed students. Just some students need special education help.
Mm-hmm.
And just sort of that, we're going to start segregating and separating. You and I both know that kids learn the most from other kids.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, inclusion works when it's supported. So, one of the things I love that you do online is you talk about it in a way, even here now, like it excites you serving these kids. It's the most important thing that we can do is, to remember who you once were. And so, kind of speak to teachers out there that maybe they're in a difficult school. Maybe they have a difficult administration. Maybe they have difficult leadership, but they still want to be teachers.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I always say this though, the beauty about being a teacher is that if you're in a situation where your environment is a little toxic and your administration isn't that good, and you could always go in your classroom and close the door. You could always go in the classroom, close the door. It's just you and the 25 other students in the classroom, and then that's pretty much your world. It's just you and those 25 other students, you know, and I feel like if you are struggling, if you're struggling in a situation like that, I think that let's just say you're struggling with difficult behavior. You have to build up those relationships with your students. You
Yeah.
have to do it. And one of the most important things is you have to change your mentality about working with students with difficult behavior. You have to change
Yeah.
your mentality. Um, these are somebody else's kids who are loved by a bunch of other people, and you want to treat these students the way that you're hoping some other educator is treating your own kids, your grandkids, your nieces, your nephews. You want to treat them with love and respect and care for them. You have to see that it's possible for them to succeed. Because
Yeah.
if you can't see success, if you can't be like, okay, these students can't succeed, these students can't do. If that's your mentality, right, your brain has shut down, and you're not
Yeah.
even thinking about possibilities of how to help them.
And
It's
if you think
just
that,
shut.
that will come true.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. So if you're like, they can't be any better. This can't happen. Your mentality is not serving you or the students. And then
Yeah.
you start to act a certain way toward them. And these
Yeah.
students pick up vibes.
Oh,
They
yeah.
pick up vibes, they
Yeah.
looks, body language, all of
Yeah.
that. All
Yeah.
of that. You know, and so you have to change that mentality of from like they can't do it to like it's possible. It's possible. And
Yeah.
then once you start to say that it's possible, now you're looking for ways on how to make it possible.
Right.
And that's where you find stuff like that I put up posts online or things that you post online. You see the
Yeah.
other people talk about, but you have to be open to the idea that building relationships with students, especially with difficult behavior, is the pathway to success. That's the
Yeah.
pathway to success because there's so much negativity out there online that will say like that's not possible. They'll joke about it. They'll be like, "Oh, have you tried building relationships with students?" Like they'll say like the admin came to me and said, "Have you tried building relationships with students? That would change everything." Or, "I know what to do. Remember my why, and then that'll change you know, that
Your
kind of stuff."
why.
But if you remember your why, that's everything for me. Like I remember my why when it comes to my health. Like I remember my why when I know that I want to be able to see my grandchildren graduate from college. That's my why. So guess what? I'm running, I'm working out, I'm eating right, I'm doing all these things because I know why. I know why I want to live for such a long time. So if you are like, if your mentality is like, remember your why, well, why remember my why as a teacher, blah blah blah, that's stupid. I'm not gonna do that, you know. No, remember your why. Remember why you're in education. You're there to help. For me, I'm here to help students that look like me, who were difficult students, who might have been put in the corner, who have, parents who didn't graduate from high school, who have drug abuse in the family, who have people who have died from drugs and alcohol, who have friends who have been murdered through gang. Like
Yeah.
this is me.
Yeah.
So when I go into these classrooms, it's it's like it's not a game, like for me. That's
Yeah.
what it is. It's like, okay, these are real lives. These are kids who need assistance. And so it's just that. It's like you have to just change your mentality. And I
Yeah.
don't know, maybe it's because of my background. Maybe it's because of where I came from that it means so much to me.
Right.
Um, I don't know.
Yeah. Nobody would say, I dropped off my kindergartner and it's October. I don't know why Mr. Vergara hasn't taught my kindergartner to read. So we have kindergarten, first and second grade, right? We learn to read and then we read to learn. So why don't we give kiddos that have emotional, social, and behavioral needs that much time to learn something? Why don't we like that, right? We teach, 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 teach. And, I I was in the same position before I had a child with disability that I thought kids could just get it together, right? And I think you and I have
Mhm.
talked before. No kid is going Sunday, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to disrupt every class and for Miss Smith to be mad at me and Mr. Vergara. This is my plan for the week. It's actually just the opposite. They're using all of the compensatory skills to do what you expect. And I
Yeah,
think before we tell them what we expect, we have to see them and celebrate them, however they show up in our classroom.
that's right. I totally agree. I think that you have to. They come in our classroom, and a lot of these kids come to these classrooms, and they don't know how to regulate their emotions, and they're lacking certain skills, lacking, how to be respectful, how to be responsible, how to manage
Right.
their time, just these skills that, they need. And so you could be upset about it and be upset and punish them. Hope that you punish them so much so that they start to listen. I don't know. That's what people do.
Yeah.
Let me punish you so much that now you're gonna listen now, and that's silly. You want to teach,
Yeah.
you want to guide. You don't know how to regulate your emotions. You don't know how to. You're upset and you lose your cool. Let me show you some things that you could do when you're upset. Let's talk
Yeah.
about that, right? Let me show you how to regulate your emotion when you're upset, and these are the things that you could do when
Yeah.
you get upset. Teach
Absolutely.
them. You're always, you never turn in your homework. I could be upset about that and I could roll my eyes every time it's time for me to collect homework and,
Right.
give you a look, or I could teach you about time management and
Yeah.
talk to you about it. And then, scaffold some things like, let's work on just 5 problems. There's
Yeah.
15 problems, just give me five. Just give me
Yeah.
five.
I love
That
that
kind of
word that you
stuff.
just said, teach them
Hmm.
something. That's what we do in schools, right? We teach and measure and teach and measure and teach and measure. And people that understand behavior, they're their own beast. I mean, I love educators and leadership that do. And it's what we do probably the least well, right? Because it's not on the stupid stinking state test behavior, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how we interact with people is everything. And so, I love what you do. I love teachers that understand and get behavior. But it just seems like there's this mounting division between the behavior kiddos and, online they'll say, what about the other children? Don't they deserve? Because they came to school and they wanted to learn. I can tell you this, every kid came to school and wanted to learn. You
Yeah.
just all learn with different capacity.
Yeah. I mean, I always see that argument as well. Um, And yeah, it is true. What about the other kids who need, how they need a quiet space? They're not learning. Yeah, you're right. Those kids plus the students with difficult behavior, they all need it. Both of
Yeah.
them need it. And
All
guess
of them.
what? Guess what? You could take two routes. You could say, I'm just gonna take these kids that listen, these 20 kids that listen, right? I'm gonna take these 20 kids that listen, and then there's like eight kids who kind of listen, and then there's like three kids who don't listen, and those three kids that don't listen, I'm just gonna shove them out. I'm gonna shove them
You're
out.
out of here.
You're out of
Go to
here.
the principal.
Yes, exactly. I'm gonna just and I'm gonna have this battle all year long. All year long, I'm gonna have this battle. I'm gonna complain about administrators not doing their job, and I'm gonna complain about parents not doing their job, and I'm gonna just, what about okay, that's one route you could take.
Yeah.
Or you could be like, okay, I want everybody to learn in this classroom. So in order for me to let everybody learn in this classroom, I gotta make sure I build a relationship with these three kids. These three kids, because if I could win them over, then I've won the class over. If
Right.
I could get them on board with me, then they're not gonna disrupt everybody else in the class or whatever. They know that I care about them. They know that I want their best interest. And once I do that, now everybody learns. Now everybody learns, and I'm not sending people, off to the side, and I'm not creating this division between the good kids and the kids that don't listen. The good kids
Yes.
and the you're bad and you're over here and you're good and you're staying over here, and then there's this division in the classroom, and we're not trying to divide the class or anything like that. So,
Yeah.
and I always see it like as a chess game. It's a chess game. You got you got pawns out there. You got a bunch of pawns. And these students that are pawns are students that are just going to listen. They're going to follow directions no matter what.
Right.
You can put anybody in the classroom, doesn't matter. They're just going to listen. They're just going to follow directions. Then you got like two students, the king and the queen. And they're the most powerful students. They're the most powerful students, and they could influence the board. They could influence the board. And then you got the strong pieces like the knight and the rook and the bishop. And these students could get swayed either way. You could get them on the pawn side where they're just listening, or man, they're on the knight and the queen's. I'm sorry, the king and the queen side, and now they become powerful pieces.
Yeah.
So you got the king and the queen who are ruling it, and then you got their other level of people like the bishop. These are the kids who are easily influenced, and now they're working with the king and the queen, and now you've lost the classroom
Yeah.
because they're just too powerful. They're just way too powerful. You've lost the
Yeah.
classroom. And so the way I see it is like, okay, it's like, okay, let me win over the students with the most difficult behavior. And the way I do is build a relationship with them. And I show them that I really care. It's not this manipulative thing. I truly care about students. Like for me, I'm just only
Yeah.
speaking for myself. I truly care about all the students in the classroom.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to manipulate the students with difficult behavior. I just know that I know what they need. I know
Yeah.
what they need. And I'm gonna give it to them. I'm gonna make that connection, build that relationship. And if I win them over, then I've won the whole class over. And then the argument of like, well, what about the other 25? Don't worry, I've took care of it. I've
Yeah.
won them over, and they're not affecting everybody else. And everybody's learning this classroom. There's no division, and we're a group of people who are moving in one direction. I could say family. We're a family in this classroom. I know people don't like to say that. Well, we're a family in this classroom. That sounds corny, but we're a family in this classroom,
Yeah.
and we're all working together like a family. It's messy, but we love each other, and we're gonna figure it out. And that's how you do it. So.
That's so good.
uh,
So, so, so good. So simple. Sometimes the things that are most impactful are so simple. And, the thing about difficult students is guess what? When you get to be an adult, there'll be difficult adults. There'll be difficult in-laws. There'll be difficult neighbors. There'll be like
Yes, yes,
difficult is the human experience. I don't know why
yes.
we're so recoiled by it. And so I love, 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 love what you said and what you do and your message and your sermon. And, I'm a people evangelist, and we're going to keep, paddling this Titanic till we get it turned around. So tell us how people can find you. Are you a speaker? Are you a coach? Do you teach people to get shredded abs? How do they get them?
It's funny. Yeah, I started this social media journey. I don't know, like 3 or 4 years ago, maybe something like
Yeah.
that. And I started just making videos about working with students with difficult behavior. And I was maybe like just finishing up my last year as a dean when I started doing it. So I was really like about classroom management because I was really good at it because that's what I was doing for a while.
Yeah.
And then, I became an assistant principal of special education, and now things I feel have shifted a little bit. Um, I feel like I don't do public speaking. I've never done public speaking before.
What?
I've never done public speaking before. Um, I have a podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and YouTube. It's called the Difficult Student Podcast, and I invite people like you and other people that want to talk about education. I have my social media channels on Instagram, which is called The Difficult Student, and then on TikTok, Difficult Student, and I just post videos, but like I post videos about classroom management and dealing with students with difficult behavior, but I feel like things have shifted a bit with me. Like I feel like I don't want to be pigeonholed with just talking about classroom management. So I'm really trying to break up my algorithm. I'm posting all kinds of other stuff in there. And I don't know if it's helped me or not, but I'm really trying to do that. But that's how they could find me. I talk about classroom management, building relationships, leadership. I talk about health. I talk about well-being. I talk about not burning out. As an educator, I give practical advice. And that's what I've been doing for a bit. And, I enjoy it. But sometimes, I think I've said this numerous times, when it comes to me and social media and being an administrator, you got to be careful and putting stuff out there. I always feel like I'm vulnerable when I put stuff out there. This is funny. I don't know, especially this year. A lot of times I think about like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to, I could just shut it off, close both my accounts and just shut it all off and not talk about this anymore. And I've been going through this cycle of thinking for the last few months or so, 3 or 4 months. Should I quit? Should I not quit? Should I quit? Should I not quit? And every time I'm just about to quit, no joke, somebody says something to me, somebody sees me out in public. Like yesterday, I was like in Brea, which is far from where I live. I'm in Brea, and I'm eating dinner, and then somebody keeps looking at me, and she comes up to me and my wife, and she's like, "I just want to say, is that you?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's me." She's like, "I love your stuff. I love what you do. You really are making a difference. When I watch your videos, I really enjoy them, and you're making a difference, and you're saying things that people don't say. They're saying things that people don't say, and you need to keep doing it." And I'm like, oh, I was like, let me get my camera. I have this little camera right here. I'm like, let me get my camera. Let's talk for a second. And we have this little conversation about it. But like, that always happens to me. Like, right when I'm like, I don't know. I'm putting myself out there too much. It's too much. Something like that happens, and then it's like, you just gotta keep doing it. You just gotta keep doing it and keep the journey going. So that's where everybody could find me. Who knows? Like I said, I always fall into positions where I'm underqualified. So who knows what happens next? Who knows? I might do public speaking. I don't feel like I'm qualified. I might do public speaking. I might
What do you think this is, dear? This is about as public speaking as
in
you can.
person,
Remember,
in
you
person.
don't have to be qualified. God qualifies the called. And I just wanted you to know the other night when you were in the McDonald's drive-through, I'm right there with you. If you don't have a cheeseburger and some fake chicken nuggets that are in the shape of Florida, what do you
Yeah,
do with your life? Yeah, and
that's right.
that's why people buy authentic. You can't manufacture that. Good lighting, filters. You're just authentic. And the fact that when you talk, you're always pivoting. I always say that I don't have a plate, I have a platter. And I think that God's just going to keep magnifying that for you. But keep doing what you're doing because you're so good at it. I always say, if special education tomorrow went away, I'd still do it because it's who I am, right?
Yeah.
And so, I want to say, one of my dear mentors, Rory Vaden, said that you are most qualified to serve the person who you once were. And so please keep doing that because you're doing a great job. Thanks for being on the show. We will have you back. And you guys, his information will be at the bottom. Go follow him. He is amazing. Now, the workout stuff, I don't know what that's about, but everything else is amazing. So thank you for being on today, John. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I greatly appreciate the time to be here on your show. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, you guys. And remember, we get it right for the child. We get it right for everybody. We'll see you guys in the next training.
Take care.
Hit subscribe. Share this with a friend. And you know what? Meet me back here every single week. We're not just talking about change. We're making it. Because when you know better, you do better. And when we get it right for the child, we get it right for everybody.